Bismillah, alhamdulillah, as-salatu wa-salamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. When our Prophet ﷺ started his da'wah and the Quran started to being revealed, he was the only one with Khadija radiallahu anha. So there were two, and then very quickly Abu Bakr as-Siddiq joined the team. They became three, and Ali ibn Abi Talib, they became four and five and six and so on. But we have to know that at the very beginning, 99.9% of Quraysh, they were rejecting the dawah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not just rejecting, they were opposing the dawah, and they started persecuting the Muslims and wanted to eliminate the Muslims and Islam. But then, in a period of 23 years, and not even 23 years really, you can say 10 years, because the first 13 years in Mecca, the growth of Islam was very limited because of severe persecution, and the strength of the kuffar around the Muslims and the power of the kuffar was tremendous. So you can say in 10 years in the period of Medina, alayhi salatu wasalam, this 99.9% of the Quraysh who were opposed to Islam, all of them accepted Islam. And what was the issue? How could they do that? How did it really happen? How come the entire Ummah only in a very short period came into the fold of Islam, whereas at the very beginning they were so much against the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And there are 3 points that come to my mind. The first one is, of course, the presence of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his aura, his honor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave, his attraction, the way he behaved with the community, the way he took care of the orphans, the widows, the elderly, the sick, the poor, the way he interacted with people when he sat down. Every single person who sat down with him thought he was the most important one. He was being treated the most fair way by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The way he traded, the way he walked, the way he talked, the way he ate, the way he slept, every single thing that sallallahu alaihi wasallam was doing, there was a fatal attraction of the people toward this person. In fact, there are people who accepted Islam later on. They were saying that they would see the Prophet ﷺ from far away, and they knew that there is something different about this personality. And of course, along with the revelation of the Quran, it was something glorious that no one can repeat. In fact, today, if all of us, the entire Muslim population, maybe 1.82 billion people, we practice the Quran and we practice the Sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we combine our effort, we will never be able to even reach close to the impact that happened because only of the presence of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam at that time. So that's number one, and not in priority, by the way. Number two, we know that nothing happens. The hearts cannot be brought together except by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this beautiful ayah in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ لو أنفقت ما في الأرض جميعا ما ألفت بين قلوبهم ولكن الله ألف بينهم. That, O Prophet of Allah, or actually it's for anyone, ألف بين قلوبهم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who brings the hearts together. لو أنفقت ما في الأرض جميعا. If you were to spend everything that you have on the face of the earth, ما ألفت بين قلوبهم. You will never be able to bring those hearts together. ولكن الله ألف بينهم. But Allah Azza wa Jal is the one who brings the hearts together. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who opens up the heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives the permission that Iman will be entered in the heart. And when that happens, the souls come together. So yes, we are supposed to make da'wah. We are supposed to put all our effort. We are supposed to try our best for increasing our Iman as well as spreading the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But at the end, it is the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the other criteria that comes to my mind is an ayah from the Quran, another ayah from the Quran, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, أَمْ حَسِبْتُمْ أَن تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ وَلَمَّا يَأْتِكُمْ مَثْلُ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ مَسَّتْهُمُ الْبَأْسَاءُ وَالضَّرَّاءُ وَزُلْزِلُوا حَتَّى يَقُولَ الرَّسُولُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ مَتَى نَصْرُ اللَّهِ أَلَا إِنَّ نَصْرَ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ. Inna nasrallahi qareeb. The help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very near. This ayah is so beautiful and so powerful. You know, at every stage of the dawah during the time of Prophet ﷺ, the companions faced a lot of resistance, a lot of challenges. Even in Medina, when they had their own country, they had their own state, the Islamic state, they were attacked by the Quraysh numerous times, multiple times from outside. They were attacked by Ahlul Kitab, the people of the book, from inside, the Jews in particular, and the Munafiqeen in Medina. And all the time, you know, especially in the battles, the believers were pushed to the edge so that they didn't really think that they would be victorious. Even in the Battle of Badr, which was a clear victory, both physically and spiritually for the believers, for the companions, look at how it began. Alayhi salatu wasalam was there standing all night, pleading to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, crying to Allah azza wa jal, "Oh Allah, if you let this small group of people who are standing with the banner of Islam today, if you let them vanish, then there will be no one on the face of the earth to say La ilaha illallah." To the extent that Jibreel alayhi salam came and consoled the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Bakr Siddiq came and he consoled the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said, "O Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never let his deen go away. He will make you victorious." But they were pushed at the edge. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds in this ayah, "Am hasibtu an tadkhulul jannah." Do you think that you will enter Jannah? وَلَمَّا يَأْتِكُمْ مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ مَسَّتْهُمُ الْبَأْسَاءُ وَالضَّرَّاءُ وَزُلْزِلُوا. People before you with other prophets and their companions, مَسَّتْهُمُ الْبَأْسَاءُ وَالضَّرَّاءُ وَزُلْزِلُوا. Ba'sa, they were in severe poverty, no food, no water, no shelter. وَالضَّرَّاءُ, many challenges, many difficulties. وَزُلْزِلُوا, the attack of the disbelievers is just like shaking the earth. حَتَّى يَقُولَ الرَّسُولُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ, until their own prophet and the believers of that time, they said, "Mata Nasrullah." When is the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the victory from Allah azza wa jal is going to come? Now, guess what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not make this, in this ayah, it doesn't say the believers said, is the victory from Allah going to come? Is the help of Allah going to come? No, because they knew, they were confirmed in their heart that it will come. But the question was timing. When is it going to come? Mata Nasrullah. Ala inna nasrallahi qareeb. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, indeed, the nasr, the victory from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very near. In other words, this third criteria is important. When people attain that level of sincerity and of effort for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and exhaust every single ways to achieve, and that they reach at a point they cannot proceed forward, the threshold is met and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them victory. Subhanallah, today in the world we don't have the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so we don't have that support of the barakah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam's presence. But obviously we have all the sunnah alive, we have all the hadith alive, we have the Quran with us, and we have the great scholars who are leading the Ummah with the correct understanding. So we have that, and then we make dua day in and day out so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives victory to the people all over the world for the believers. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spreads his da'wah. Allah azza wa jal, he mentions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent the Prophet with the deen of truth and with guidance. هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله, so that it can prevail over all other systems of life. ولو كره المشركون, even if the disbelievers hate it, dislike it. And obviously, if we put the effort and we reach at an edge, we should never give up hope that the help of Allah will not come. Indeed, the help and victory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come, but not in our calendar, not in our time, not in by our watch. It is the timing that would be determined by the wisdom and the infinite knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.